Hello and welcome back to Shelve Your Boots. I'm Katie, the face behind Shelve Your Boots, and we are on series 2 now this year for 2026. And our first guest for series 2 is Emily. So, Emily, if you could give a little intro to yourself and sort of your backstory for the military, that would be great.
Yes, so I'm Emily. I left the military in December 2024. I was actually medically discharged. Previously to that, I had spent 10 years as Royal Military Police doing sort of various jobs such as crime scene investigations. I worked in criminal intelligence, and then I did just sort of like general police duties. When I was in the criminal intelligence, I decided I wanted to transfer to the Int Corps. So I transferred at the end of 2019 and spent, it would have been around about 6 years in the Int Corps. So I did OPMI at 4MI, and then my last posting was doing MPE at 2MI. So
Yeah,
yeah,
good old
now I'm a
Emily.
civvy.
That was my first posting.
Was
Um,
it?
yeah, it was. It was my first posting. Good old 2MI. So with your medical discharge then, because you do get people, and we've had people on the podcast that it was something that was they saw coming for some time, and it was inevitable. And initially, it was just a matter of when, or something that has been quite quick and sudden. So in terms of your medical discharge, which category would you put yourself in?
So I think it was definitely expected, although I probably didn't accept it for quite a while.
Yeah.
I had struggled for a long time anyway. I had first recognised having issues once I got back from Herrick 15. Initially got a bit of help, sort of did the typical I'm fine, got on with things. Had to deal with something else traumatic when I was on a posting in Gibraltar. So 2017 I got officially diagnosed, had some treatment, thought I'd be okay, decided to transfer, and it just caught up with me. I was on a year of sick leave. I was put on sick leave, and they kind of told me then it was almost, it was likely that I was not going to go back to work, basically. But then, yeah, I think it must have been about 4 to 6 months between the med board and my actual end of date. So, yeah, I'd say expected, but maybe just not accepted,
Yeah.
maybe.
Would you think that come from the fact that, like you said, you'd been diagnosed, then you thought, no, I'm all right, I can crack on, and then something else triggers, and then it's no, I'm all right, crack on, and it's almost like
Yeah,
you go through this kind of sequence of I'm all right, crack on, and then all of a sudden the system goes, no, you can't crack
can
on.
honestly, it was just such a continuous cycle throughout my career, and I think part of it is probably I know that the military is very much more aware about mental health and things like that now, but I still feel like there's definitely a stigma over not being able to be affected by things. Certainly, those sort of Herrick days and like when I got back, um, I never felt like I was allowed to feel the way I did. So it was a continuous like have a really bad blip, be okay, move on to something new, have a dip, and it was just that continuously. So
Yeah, and I think it's I don't think it's I've even heard it really said on the outside. I think the only person I've ever heard speak about mental health in this way is probably Sharon Osbourne of all people, who has depression, and people ask her, how she is, and she's like, I'm okay now, for now. It will always
yeah,
be for now. She's like, it will never leave me, but for
hmm
this moment in time, I'm good. So, we can crack on. And I think that's kind of something that I think holds a lot of people back, and you end up in this cycle of no, I'm fine, and then when you fall off sort of that edge again, it becomes harder and harder every time because you think, no, I'm fine, no, I'm fine, I should be fine, because a broken leg mends, a broken arm
yeah,
mends, a torn muscle
yeah,
mends. But I think that kind of conversation around, well, actually, this is life. It's just you're gonna go through a different kind of reality now than from what you did
yeah.
before. sort of those chemicals kind of changed in your head?
Yeah,
Do
and
you
I
find?
think you've got to, you've really, like, I think, like, throughout that year, I was being told, you can't be, you just cannot be in the military environment. It's just not suitable for you. And I just had to accept that it was just no longer for me. If I was going to be healthy, I had to get out of that situation. And it's so hard because when it's all I joined at 18, so it's all like, it was all
Yeah,
I'd ever known. I never planned to leave. I had no intentions of leaving, but I had to do it for the better for me. And at that point, health was more important. So
yeah,
yeah, it was hard at times. Yeah.
yeah. Did you fall into probably a similar trap that I fell into? Is if I leave, well, then that's again the problem solved, because
Oh
that's
yeah.
where the problem sits. So if I leave, then I'm going to be fine. And then a year later, the same thing happens again, and again it hits you harder because you're like, no, I've fixed what I should have fixed, so I should
Yeah,
be
and
fine again.
the thing is you leave, and I know that they do say there's help out there for veterans, and I'm sure there is lots of help, and there's, like op courage and things like that, but it's not the same. I don't think you don't get the same support. I'm now, I'm in a different job now, and in all fairness, my boss is brilliant. Like he's so open, he's so willing to listen, and he always wants to know things and like what's going on if I'm struggling. He knows I've had my struggles, but it's such a different environment that you're almost, you can't like I had that whole year off sick to go through therapy, and because I couldn't be in the workplace. But if I have a blip now, it's different. I can't. I don't know. I don't know how I deal with it now.
Yeah, yeah, and I think for me, there's two very, very different approaches as well. I think on the military side, when you're in the military side, there is a level of normalization of what's happened, what you've seen, things that have gone on, and all the rest of it. It's like, well, this is to be expected. It's kind of like cold
Mm,
or flu. It's like it's almost
yeah.
branded that kind of, well, we're not surprised, and everyone's very kind of, I wouldn't say blasé, but very level about the whole thing. And what I found coming out is when then I'm sort of telling, say, my boss, or even things like, for the first time, my boss asked me about remembrance and, feelings around that. And my tour started sort of, I landed on remembrance on the
Right.
11th. And there was a death before, and there was a death at the end of my tour. So for me, remembrance feels very, very strange. And you sort of go into these conversations, and then the look on that individual's face of just what, and then
Yeah.
they start to realize this is not normal. You've gone
Yeah.
from a scenario where everyone around is like, yeah, completely get it, to outside
Yeah.
of people looking at you like, are you okay, do I need to
That,
call someone? And then
yeah.
you find yourself a bit of an alien in the real world at that point.
Yeah.
Do you
That
find
is
you've
really.
had similar sort of
Yeah.
conversations, or
Well, actually, it's really weird you say that because I was feeling a little bit rough around remembrance. As you said, I think probably a majority of soldiers or military personnel and veterans do. And I mentioned it to my boss. I just said, look, I'm not feeling great. Remembrance is coming up, and he actually said to me, he was like, do you know what? I had no idea. He was like, I
mm,
would never have even thought of it in that way, but he was so glad that I had told him, and he said to me, like, you've educated me about something here, because I would have never put the two together that around this date you would be struggling. And I was like, and he's so approachable in that sense because he's so willing to learn about that and be educated on it. So I'm lucky in that sense.
yeah, and I think it's really important for employers to, I think for me, and where I have felt better and sort of cared or even looked after on the civilian side that is different from the military side, is that kind of willingness and openness to, what, I have no idea.
Yeah,
And the inquisitive questions of, well, what does that mean, and trying to understand you. I think I've found incredibly important to transition and to educate them, but for me to realise that actually it wasn't that normal we were doing or how we were, and maybe I do need to self-reflect and go, maybe I do need to deal with that. It's
Yeah.
clearly not very normal what was going on at the time. Have you looked back at stuff and sort of said flippant comments and kind of gone, maybe I shouldn't be that flippant about?
Honestly, do you know what the thing that really like made me be like, okay, I've been really hard on myself about this, is actually when I was going through therapy. The lady who I was seeing at the time, so like the psychiatric nurse, or I can't remember what her title was, but she was lovely. You know, she was close to tears listening to what I'd been through, and she was like, I cannot believe at your age you've been through that, and you won't let yourself accept that you've been through a really bad thing. And the fact that she was like, I could cry right now because of what you've experienced at that age and what you've been through. I was just like, maybe I have been really just like, meh, I'll be okay. No, it's not that bad. And I was just like, yeah, maybe I should be a little bit kinder to myself actually, and allow the fact that it is what it is. I am who I am now. So
yeah, and I think that is the important thing, is being kinder to yourself. I think we're so programmed, and even my therapist has said, you're so good at compartmentalizing things.
yes,
Something will happen and you'll put it in that little box in your head, and then 6 months later you'll be like, I don't feel great, and she'll get her notes up and be like, right, what did we discuss 6 months ago? And she's like, I've been waiting for this to come kind of down the road, because we're so used to no, just crack on.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah, just getting on with it.
Yeah, and then I think that's an important part of transition, especially with mental health, is having that period of time and self-reflection and forgiveness and kindness on yourself, that you know what, I had to do what I had to do while I was in to just get by, but now is the time that I do need to actually look after myself and allow myself to reflect and process what I should have processed potentially at the time, but I didn't have the space to do that at the time.
Yeah, that's so true.
So how have you found sort of coming out, and you've over a year now pretty much, how have you found that kind of year of reflecting, processing, leaving, new life all at the same time?
I know. Do you know what I like? And I'm sure there's a lot of other people who will be in or have been in similar situations and will be in similar situations. But at the time of me leaving, I was obviously on sick leave. I was having to live with my sister at the time because I couldn't be on my own. So I was in a house with them, and sometimes you want to be on your own, but I knew that I had to be in company. So I lived with my sister for a bit. I was going through therapy, obviously getting ready to leave, so interviews, getting my CV sorted, doing all of this at the same time. And I also had shoulder surgery booked in for the January after I'd left.
Yeah.
And funnily, my unit had asked for an extension to let me be in for my recovery, but that was a no. Yeah. Which at the time I was quite disappointed in, because obviously you give, I'm mentally and physically injured from my service, and I'm not saying, they owe me anything, but it was for an extra month of time where I didn't have to stress about getting a job, because I knew I was going to have shoulder surgery. I mean, I was lucky that I was able to cover, 6 weeks of not being able to work, and the job that I had got in December, the month that I was leaving, my boss said to me, you can start after your surgery, have a couple of weeks, and get started when you're ready. So again, really grateful for that, because had I needed to start earlier, that would have just been another stress. But I am in a good place now. I really enjoy my job. I've got a really good work to home life balance, which I don't think a lot of us probably have when we're in the military, but mine's like really good. I work from home and I travel to locations, so I've got a really good mix of it. I'm back near some of my family, like I'm back where I grew up. So you've got friends, family. There's no denying I do miss it. I do miss people. I do miss, like Christmas. I went to my brother-in-law's Christmas function because I was like, I need to go to a function. I need to do something. It's like ingrained in you, isn't it, to do a summer and a winter function. So I went to that because otherwise I wouldn't have had anything. And they're the sort of things that I miss. It probably is more the social side of things. But yeah, I'm very, very comfortable where I'm at the moment, which I'm grateful for because it was so stressful when I was leaving. Just having all of that to do at the same time, to now actually being quite, I can breathe. I can take each day as it comes now.
Yeah, and I think as well, you go into that mode of, again, you compartmentalise. I just need to get this done. I just need to get that done. I just need to leave. I just need to get a job. And then the mental health bit, just right, that needs to just be there for now because I can't do both. And I think that's where I got hit the year later, when I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Look, I've got a job. I'm doing great. Blah, blah, blah. And then a year later, bang, I just started to dip massive. And I couldn't.
Have you got do you notice now though?
Yeah. It's taken a lot of therapy because for me, I think the analyst in me, and like my therapist says, for me, if I understand the sole reason why something's happened, I can deal with it. If I don't understand it, then I'm spiraling.
That is exactly
Constantly.
what I'm like. I really struggle with not having closure to something.
Yeah.
And not knowing why something happened or the full ins and outs of it. And that's what then gets stuck in my head, and I'm like, it gets me down. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah, and it can be months. I'll put it in a box and I'll crack on and I'll do whatever. But then the signs come for me with my house isn't as tidy. So it's things like the end of the loo roll just gets left. And then this gets left, and then there's some crumbs over there, and it just starts to build a little bit, and then it really, for me now, I get night terrors.
Yeah.
That break. I even take amitriptyline because I've got nerve damage in my knee, and it breaks through my amitriptyline. And at that point, that's when I'm with the therapist going, something's cracking off here, and it's screaming at me at this point.
Yeah.
And I've got the luxury now that it follows that pattern. It follows a very similar set pattern now. So that is a bit of a luxury that I can go. And that's where my therapist comes in, because I'm a bit blind to the reasons why a lot of the time, whereas she's not, because I see her every month through good and bad. So she then knows me through good and bad. And then when I come to her and go, something's going off, she'll go, right, I know exactly what this is. Yeah. And then that's where, like you say, you get the closure of, oh, that's why. And then the dreams stop, and then all of a sudden I notice all the mess, and I clear up, and it's like, oh right, that's what it is. Yeah. But that's taken like 6 years to get to that space.
But I think that's what people don't realise though sometimes, is that, there are some cases where having therapy, and then and it does help you, and you're fine, and then you're fine, and you've got techniques to use in the future and things like that. But I think a lot of the time it really does take years and years of acceptance, understanding, getting the help, processing it, and actually it's years. But I do almost feel like now, because you're not in an environment where it's not that you can't have mental health in the military, but obviously if it's affecting your job, you can't stay in the job. So you're not going to give it all away because you don't want to risk your job, you don't want to lose it. But now you can just be, you can be really open about everything, can't you?
Yeah, and it does help, and I do have a tendency, I am very open about my mental health and how it is, and you're right, it takes years, and the only way I can describe it to people who've never, because I've had conversations with people like, I don't understand it, don't understand anxiety, don't never had it, which is fine. But the only way I can describe it to people is like, up until I was 30, when did it start? 36? No, yeah, 26. Up until I was 26, I was living next door to my best mate in my head. My brain was my best mate up until that.
Yeah.
I knew everything about them. I knew how, we were happy. We knew what we liked. We knew what made us laugh. We knew what cheered us up and all the rest of it. And then overnight, it switched off and my best mate left. And then I got a knobhead moving in next door to me. That now I have no choice but to live next door to, but they're an arsehole. They'll play music at 2 a.m. They'll leave trash everywhere. They'll have knobhead friends round, and it's all of a sudden I've now got to live and cohabit with this individual that irritates the shit out of me, but I have no choice but to accept the situation I'm in. And that is the only way I can describe depression and anxiety is I don't know my brain anymore. It's not, I'm not with my best friend anymore. They've gone. I now have anxiety that will wake me up at 2 a.m. and go, right, this hasn't happened, but what if there was a fire right now? Why? And it's just that knobhead neighbour in my head that won't go away. And it's, you know what, I've just got to live with you. And I think at that point where I accepted, and like we've said, like, I'll be fine. I had to accept almost the death of myself before I could move on and be like, you know what, okay, this knobhead's not leaving, so how do I make this as
you've
pleasant?
You've got to get to know him, haven't you?
Yeah. How do I make this as pleasant and easy as possible at this point in time? And that's taken 5 years to get to a point where, okay, we can live together, and yeah, you're a bit of an arsehole, but I've got to a point where I can kind of ignore you. I acknowledge you and just be like, yeah, whatever. And crack on. And I've got that kind of space now. But it's the only way I can describe it to someone who doesn't have anxiety and depression and think, well, you've had therapy, you're on sertraline, you should be fine.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that, does it?
No. It's a whole, I'm essentially at the time I was 28, learning who I am again.
Yeah, that's the thing.
28 years of knowing who I am, and now I've got to relearn that person from scratch.
And then it's almost like you're, like, for all those years that your mental health has affected you, like for me, the way I described it, like when I've been in my like real bad times, is that it's like I'm sat in a glass box and everyone else is moving, everyone's continuing with life, but I just cannot get out of this box, and I'm watching everybody else have a brilliant time, go to all these amazing places, love, like, have these most amazing relationships, do all this, and I'm just sat there in this glass box and I can't do anything about it. Like, I'm just so stuck there, and it's so upsetting seeing everything else just continue whilst I'm stuck, can't get away from it. But it's, you kind of then also have to, you kind of miss out on a lot, don't you? So then once you kind of get to a point where you're okay, you're like, oh, I missed out on that. Like, I didn't go on holiday for years. Because I didn't want to. I couldn't think of anything worse than going on holiday. And I think now, for all those years that I could have, gone somewhere nice, and I couldn't, physically couldn't.
I couldn't face it. And it was a combination of sort of the depression and the anxiety. The anxiety took over. Like, oh, you don't really want to be doing that, all this kicking off. What happens if you get stranded in Italy? I'm not going to get stranded. No, I'm not going to get stranded in Italy. And all this, and COVID, I think, fed a lot of it as well, because there was a lot of uncertainty and flights being cancelled and all the rest of it. And I just kind of used that as an excuse of, it's too uncertain, it's too unstable, I might get stuck and this, that and the other. And
Yeah.
you just kind of feed this beast that's just going, yeah, but it'll all go wrong, and God, what's
It's,
going to happen
yeah.
now? And
Yeah.
every and that's the worst part of anxiety for me is the earworm that, and people are just like, oh well, just ignore it. And
No.
again, the only way I can describe it is a toddler, that's going, mummy, watch me. And you go, yes, lovely, darling, mummy's just having a conversation. Mummy. And then they're at the top of the stairs going, mummy, I can fly.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're like, no, I really need to pay attention to this child. That's anxiety. You can't, the moment you ignore it, it gets louder, it gets more
Yeah.
extreme, gets more extreme. And you can't just go, yeah, whatever,
Hmm.
it's fine. You kind of have to acknowledge it and
Yeah.
go, lovely, yes, oh yeah, that could happen, oh dreadful, yeah. And then that's the only way you can kind of move on from it,
Yeah.
because it's just this horrible little toddler that just wants to jump up the stairs the whole time, and give you a heart attack,
Yeah.
um, while doing it. But yeah, the glass box thing in terms of depression, I think the worst for me was, people, sort of, oh, just cheer up, or just go out and do something you find fun. And with sort of the depression side, I found I didn't even find TV funny.
Yeah.
I didn't find a comedy show funny. It just, like, I didn't understand the joke. I just became flat, and it became a, you know what, I can't even be bothered to have niceties with the lady on the counter at the checkout at Tesco. I can't even
Mm.
do a, oh, morning. No, not
Yeah.
interested. Don't
Yeah.
want to have those pleasantries with anyone. I've not got the capacity for it.
No.
And so
Yeah.
you do become like you're just a ghost moving through. Everyone else is having a great time, and you're just like, yeah. And I think
Yeah.
that was the scary thing for me was, is this it? Am I going to feel like this forever? Thank
That's, yeah.
God I don't.
Yeah.
But that was the worst part of,
Yeah.
is this it? Am I just not going to find anything funny
That's exactly the same. Yeah,
ever?
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. You had a similar sort of feeling or
Yeah.
scenario?
Yeah, you just what you like because you don't want to feel like that forever, do you? And it's horrible, but you don't know when it's going to come to an end. So you do
Yeah.
feel like you're like, oh my God, is this what it's going to be like now? Is this it for me?
Yeah.
It's horrible. Yeah, it's awful. It's really
And
horrible.
even like with, I'll take that. I was on sertraline at one point, and it was the same thing. It doesn't, they say, oh, it's really good for depression because, it removes that kind of, the only way I can describe it is like you're in more, someone's died and you're waiting for the funeral, that morbid, sinking, horrible sadness. It removes that, but what I think people also don't understand is it doesn't replace it with happiness.
Yeah.
You don't even have happiness, you just have the middle ground that just, you're in the same position, it's just you feel less sinkingly, morbidly sad.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel less shit.
Yeah, that's what you gain from that medication. You don't. It's not happy pills. You don't.
Yeah.
You're not the soul of the party. You are
No.
just less morbidly,
Yeah.
strickenly sad at
Yeah.
that point. And
Yeah.
that scared the hell out of me as well, because I was like, I can't take these because I can't even feel happiness
Mm.
either on that medication.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard.
Not fun. Not
No.
fun. Not fun. Very, very, very. But it's, it isn't all doom and gloom. But I think, like we said, I think it's the reframing of how people approach it. I think is the most important side of mental health, and
Yeah.
how companies deal with veterans, because we are going to have very complex mental health issues
Yeah.
by the nature of what people have experienced. And it's not something to be frightened of. it's something to just bear in mind, but also if someone's happy to talk, to encourage a conversation, to sort of help that kind of understanding, um,
Yeah,
and just be prepared on that side of the conversation to be a little bit blown by, the conversation that's coming towards you at that point, and be
yeah,
prepared for quite a potentially quite an emotional, if not quite dark, conversation with certain people.
yeah, that's
Most
true.
definitely.
Yeah, I think you just have to. I mean, I know everyone's different, but I think leaving the military, and if you have got things, like physical or mental injuries, I think you've just got to be honest about it. That there's no shame in it. And if it's the right job or the right employer or the right place for you to be, they'll look after you. If they don't, then you know that that's not right for you.
Yeah.
You have to adapt to what's right for you with how you are leaving. And if I think you've just got to be open and upfront. I was very upfront about it with my boss who did my interviews, and he was really grateful that I told him. And I think he was actually just so, like, I don't know, he was just, yeah, he just loved that I was so open about it with him, and I told him from the off. And if it had been an issue, then
Yeah.
I would have had to have looked elsewhere, and that would have been it. But they know about it, and they helped me deal with it. So there's not
Yeah.
much I can ask for, really.
Yeah, and I think that's as well something that you sort of find in a lot of conversations with veterans, where you won't find the same sort of camaraderie or relationship on the outside. You'll lose all this. But when it comes to mental health, I think in terms of the military, I think everyone has a very similar experience. There's the
Yeah.
support in terms of the health system is there, but it is very much a just crack on
Hmm.
mentality. And oh, thanks for your time. Where's your chit? What meds are you on? Can you go in the armory? Is usually
Yeah.
the sort of the lineal conversation that happens.
Yeah.
But what I do find coming out is with how open mental health is now across the board and across the world. I do find civilian employers are a lot more accommodating, and that they want to have those conversations, that if you are
Yeah.
struggling, especially at my place of work, you do you sort of, every 6 months you do your, it's almost like your SJAR kind of thing of, oh, what have you achieved and all this sort of stuff. But the first question is, how are you,
Yeah.
and the welfare of that individual. That's the first box on that, and it's a space set out, officially, essentially, to say, is everything okay with you?
Yeah.
How are you mentally? How is your workload? What's going on? Is there
Hmm.
anything that we need to be, helping you with? Which I would say is a very dramatic difference from the military side.
Yeah.
Um, so I think with people with mental health, and potential mental health discharges, I think that is probably one of the biggest positives I've seen coming out, is the difference of how it's actually managerially handled.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I'd say, yeah, I think people almost feel like they need to stay in the military. Like, if they have mental health, they need to stay in the military, because when they get out, they won't get a job and they won't. But I actually think it's the opposite. I think, like you've already said, I think there's so much more awareness around mental health now, and I do feel like, actually, if you find the right fit for you, you are well looked after,
Mm-hmm.
and you can be successful outside of the military. I just feel like for me, it held me back for many, many years. I probably should have left way before what I did, but I was so scared to, because I didn't know how it would affect me on the outside. I didn't want to leave what I knew, although it was the thing that was causing me the most issues.
Mm.
I didn't want to leave it. I didn't want to leave everything I knew and the security that I had. But actually, now I'm out, I have realised that it doesn't have to hold you back. You can be successful and you can get better be well on the outside of the military as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I think for me, I mean, whether I'd made if I'd stayed, whether I'd made as much progress, looking back, I think it'd be very doubtful. If
Mm.
I'd have stayed, I don't think I'd be mentally in the position I am in now.
Yeah,
I think I would have delayed this process further on for
yeah,
every year I stayed. Um, because I think there is that element of, oh no, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, and for every time you do it is every time you're just adding time on.
yeah, and then and more things to it as well, and you
Yeah,
just it's just a vicious cycle, and then yeah, it all catches up with you then. Whereas I think, like you said, I don't know, I just feel I don't know if it's because it's it's not that it's slower. I don't think it's not that outside of the military slower, because it's not at all. I don't know. I just feel like I've had much more time to, like, for me. I
yeah,
don't really know how to explain it, but I just feel I don't know. I do a lot more now. I do a lot, many, like, much more hobbies. I see more people, and granted, that is definitely down to being in a good place with my mental health. Because when it's bad, I shut the world out. But I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I've been able to take a lot more time to accept and process, and yeah, and not make myself feel so bad about what I'd lost in those years that I struggled. I don't know. It's
yeah.
strange.
I think with the structure of, I mean, because I was a singly when I was in, and I think the structure of it enables the compartmentalization because you're living in the block, you're seeing people. There's always a front. There's always a front. You can't, you know, so you haven't got the space, I think, to self-reflect and
You can't escape it, can you?
no. There's always that. I'm fine. I'm fine. I don't worry about. I'm fine. And it's even in your own personal space. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And I think, like yourself, it's when I left and I was in my own space
Mm.
that I could actually, okay,
Yeah.
I've actually got to face this now because it's just me. I've got to
Yeah.
face it. I
Yeah.
can't hide from it because I'm in it. There's
Yeah.
no one else around me now. I'm in it, and I've got to face it. I think
Yeah.
at that point, which
Yeah.
again probably why it unravelled about a year later, after everything else settled down. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
it's. I think as this used to sound tall like the golden hour. I think the year after leaving, especially for mental health, is like the golden year of
Mm.
almost don't get. I wouldn't say don't get too comfortable, but just be mindful, I think, of it could still very well be hidden
Yeah.
in that first year because of everything else that's going on. That actually
Yeah.
it may still hit you a year and a half once you're actually settled and comfortable,
Hmm.
and that's when it starts to sort of re-emerge
Yeah.
because you feel safe and happy.
Yeah. And you've been so distracted by sorting everything else out, and then, like, and then you get into that, and then it's like, oh, actually,
Yeah,
it's still there.
yeah, and I think that's the sort of the biggest thing as well, and like the whole sort of Sharon Osbourne sort of comment of "I'm okay for now"
Mm.
is it doesn't, even if you think it's gone, it doesn't go away. It will
No.
always sort of work its way out in some way, shape, or form. And it's something that my therapist said to me quite a lot is if you don't listen to your body whisper, you'll hear it scream.
Ah, yeah.
Um, and that's where I did start. I was fine, I was fine, I was fine, and then the night terror started, and she was like, right, we need to look at this now because
Mhm.
your body clearly is not happy
Yeah.
with what's going on, so we need to unpack whatever it is. And then once we unpack it, they stop. And my
It's
mind
yeah.
goes, oh, right, oh, that's fine then, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Okay,
Yeah. You've that one's out now. You've
yeah,
opened that box of
figured that
process.
out. Okay, right, next thing, next thing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it's it is something to sort of bear it, because I think that's where I failed myself unknowingly, and just being naive. I think was, well, the
Yeah.
problem's solved, I'll be fine. And
Yeah.
that's when it really hit me, because I wasn't.
Yeah.
And it hit
Yeah.
me like a truck, because I
Yeah.
felt, I think in my head, I felt cheated. Like, I thought I was fine. Like, why am I broken again? Why is this happening again? I thought I'd fixed it. I thought I'd done what I needed to do. I'd done the tick boxes. Like, where is this coming from now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is something to sort of, I think, like I say, be kinder to yourself, and
Yeah.
just, you know what, if your mind is bringing it up, then there's a reason for it. Um, and unfortunately, the more you pack it down,
Yeah.
the
The more
more
it's
it tries. It'll find different ways. It'll find different ways. Migraines,
oh, yeah.
dreams, body aches, all sorts of different symptoms that it
Yeah.
can come through,
Yeah.
which is, annoying, but it's very, very persistent. Um, but
Yes.
looking back, is that, because I've probably have reflected on it quite a lot over the last 5 years. But looking back, what if you could go back and do something different, or tell yourself something, what would it be to help yourself into this position now?
Oh, that's an interesting one because I don't know, because I think it probably would just be like be kinder to myself,
Mm,
because I very much listened to, like when I got back from Herrick, I did have, a few people sort of say like, why is your mental health like that? And I'm like, we did different jobs. You can't compare what we did out there. But I
mm,
did have those sort of comments, and then that did make me believe that actually I wasn't. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't be like this. I don't deserve to feel like this. And I think maybe I should have accepted it a lot earlier than what I did, and actually got the proper help, and not started it and then thought, oh, I'm not going to waste anyone's time and finish it. I think maybe, I don't know, maybe I would be in a very different position right now. I think, kind of what I've said to you before, I do feel like had I maybe accepted, acknowledged, processed earlier, I probably wouldn't have missed out on so much. I have missed out on a lot. I'm very aware that over the years, especially with it being, it's sort of been over 10 years that I've struggled with it. I've missed out on a whole lot. Friendships, I've lost friendships through it. So yeah, probably just I wish I'd been kinder to myself and let myself get the help that I needed, and maybe it would have been sorted sooner. But I think I'm not one of these people that, I don't know, like, I do believe in everything happens for a reason. I do think that, and I do think that what's happened to me was meant to happen, and I'm where I should be now, doing what I'm doing. I do think that.
yeah, it's interesting. I feel the same way.
I really.
It's interesting you say that. It's as hellish as it was going through what happened sort of towards the end of my career, and sort of the recovery,
Yeah.
or um, what's the word I'm looking for? Acceptance, up to
Yeah.
now, that I've done, and it's been excruciatingly painful, especially dissecting it with a therapist, and it's not easy to do, to really self reflect and pick things apart.
No.
Um, I wouldn't be the person I am now if I hadn't have done that, or hadn't
Yeah.
gone through that. I wouldn't be doing this for a start if I hadn't have done that and gone through that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, the friends I have now, that are now I'm able to help, in a good way that are now going through it themselves, I couldn't be there for them in the same way as I am now. So
Yeah.
it is one of those that I think very similar, that as horrible as it is, and you know, there was a lot of sort of heartache and tears and anger and all sorts of things floating around. It was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't have the mindset I have now. I wouldn't be the person I am now doing what I'm doing now without that
Yeah.
experience. I just couldn't do it.
No.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
have the conversation to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, you know, I mean, there'll be therapists out there that probably say, oh, that's a form of like acceptance of and whatever. I don't know. I don't care. It makes me feel better.
Yeah.
makes me feel
Yeah.
like, well, at least it was for something.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
it's that closure thing, isn't it? As well, at least it was for something, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just in vain, or you know, and people like ourselves, you know, can help other people that are at the
Yeah.
beginning of their journey to be able to say, you know what, it does get better, but
I
it's
think that's the thing, isn't it? You kind of, I think one thing that I really like to get across is it's not easy leaving the military. It's not, especially when you are injured.
yeah,
But you know, you can be successful and you can have a really good time on the outside. Like, it can be just as good. I don't, you know, I know quite a lot of us get institutionalized. We're in and around it 24/7, but I don't know, you know, I, I could probably say that for the first time in since, yeah, like the end of, or mid to end of 2012 to now, like right now, I'm probably in the best place I've been since then. I can honestly say I'm happy, I enjoy my job, I love my friends and family, and I do my best to spend time with everyone now. And yeah, I'm just in a really good place. But had you asked me, or had I been trying to say this probably even, 2 years ago, I would have said no. My life is going to be shit
this,
the rest of
yeah,
my life. This is it for me. It's never going to be good. But yeah, it's I'm on a real positive at the moment.
yeah, yeah, which is
So,
good to hear. And I think, yeah, I agree. I'm probably in that same position now, that it's the best I've ever felt mentally.
yeah,
Um, and I put that down to, you know, a lot of work has gone into it. It's not been easy, but at the same time, I still have therapy every month, and that for me is almost, it probably is a comfort blanket, because I've built that relationship with the therapist. So if things do start to unravel in some way, shape, or form, she knows I don't have to go through the whole story again and
yeah,
be analysed again. She already knows me, good and bad and ugly, and that for me means the dip is just like I've rolled my ankle and I'm back up again, rather than
yeah,
my legs stuck in a rock,
yeah,
you know, in a cabin or whatever, and I can't get free.
yeah,
I got very, very bored and very exhausted by the extreme dip. Now I'll get help, dig myself out, dip. Now I'll get help, dig myself. It
mm-hmm.
becomes very, very exhausting.
Yeah,
Um, so for me, that kind of maintaining that happiness means, okay, just like I need to go for sports massages and physio
yeah,
every now and then, I've got to
yeah,
do the therapy side to
yeah,
keep that headspace in the space where I am now,
yeah.
which is a lot happier.
And
Um,
it's like you said before as well. I think, you know, as long as you not even accept, but it's never, for some people it will never go away. And as long as you're aware of that, and you know that leaving isn't going to solve everything, then you can get yourself on that quite steady line where the dips aren't quite as low as what they used to be.
mm, yeah, definitely, definitely. I think we've, yeah, I think we have the very much the same kind of experience in that sense, and the same point of view, even though
Yeah,
we never crossed paths, we never had the same, you know, And I think that's important to sort of, people, oh, maybe just because you both equal or whatever. And it's like, no, completely different paths, completely different structures, completely different careers, completely
Yeah.
different network, the whole thing. But it comes, I think, down to the same mentality of acceptance for sort of yourself, acceptance for the new you, and just being kind to yourself and having that space to just go, okay, I need to kind of probably deal with this a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not put it off anymore.
Hmm.
Because I think the longer you put it off, the longer you're in that fog, the longer you miss out on stuff,
Yeah.
and you
Definitely.
can't get to that space where it's like, that was awful. But at least
Hmm.
now I feel a bit more in control, I think is probably the
Yeah.
best way to put it.
Yeah. That is a good way of putting it, actually.
Yeah, not I felt at times my mind was on its own agenda and it was controlling me more than I
Hmm.
was controlling it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good
Um,
way of putting it as well. Yeah.
I felt very manipulated. And I think that was also probably the biggest thing I had to accept is my mind wasn't my best friend anymore. It was actually quite
Mm.
an internal
Yeah.
saboteur. Um, and it was going out of its way to almost keep me in that mental state at times when you think, well, it shouldn't be because it's me.
Hmm.
But it almost becomes this kind of weird split personality situation where it's like, it's the devil in your head going, I don't think you're going to enjoy that. You know what? You're going to be really
Yeah.
miserable if you go. I wouldn't bother. You know what? That person might be there that you don't even like. So I would just stay at home and not see anyone. And then you stay at home and not see anyone. And then
Yeah. And then
you're
yeah.
miserable anyway.
Yeah. Exactly. And weeks go by, and then you're like, oh,
Mm.
God, I've not seen or done anything for weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, yeah, I think a topic close to both our hearts. And
Yeah.
I think it is something that needs to be spoken about probably a bit more literally, like we have done today. Um,
Yeah.
and the realities of it, um, because it's not a nice space to sit in. And I know at times I was sort of expected to make logical kind of conversations about it, and I couldn't explain
Mm.
anything about it because I was in it and I didn't understand it. So to be sat and well, you need to explain this, and you say, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you mean you don't know? I don't know. I don't know this person anymore. Is actually quite a normal situation to be in terms of you sort of this side of the table of, what, I
Hmm.
don't know. And that's okay to not know
Yeah.
yourself anymore, but that's normal to not know yourself anymore, but you've just got to do the work to get to know yourself again.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
is just going to look a
Yeah.
little bit different and probably not quite how you planned it,
No.
but you'll get there,
Yeah.
most definitely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
Emily, for coming on and being the first guest of 2026, and being so open and honest.
No, it's all right. It's been
I'm
good.
sure there'll be people out there that will really identify with this and hopefully will listen to it and find a bit of sort of almost a warm, fuzzy feeling of, okay, this can be done.
Yeah.
I can do this, is what I'm really, really hoping.
Yeah.
And
Hey,
I'm really glad you're in a really good place now.
thank you.
I wish
No,
you
it's
all the
been.
best.
Thank you. Yeah, I wish you too.
And thank you very much. See you soon, Emily.